and determining when our teachers, our faculty will have maximized planning around grading periods. And so there might not be, obviously, when you count report cards and progress reports, that's 8 total grading periods throughout the year because there's 4 quarters and each has an interim period. And so we do try to pair those early releases or the half days with a grading period. But no, you're right. It's not a one-to-one match for every single progress report or interim or report card.
I guess because I'm not aware of what takes a progress report versus a report card, and knowing the needs of the teachers, it'd be important to somehow understand that distinction, and especially visibly in future calendars to understand what that means.
Absolutely. So the report card grade is your final report card, and that's what's used to calculate your GPA. Your progress report is provided to the parents about halfway through.
Yeah, my apologies.
No, go ahead.
I'm familiar with that more as the effort needed by the teaching staff, why they would need a half day to do teacher planning for one or the other. So my guess is the progress reports have more detail than the report card, because a report card is a systematic thing. And
I would say that varies by teacher.
We would probably think that the report cards actually warrant more work. The 9 weeks where students end at the end of a quarter or at the end of the semester warrant more work and more planning on behalf of MTSS teams, IPS teams, individual problem solving, et cetera, for teachers, particularly as you think in high schools about semester long classes and such. So we try to align as we can with that based on the needs of the district and when we're planning on data conferences. So there are lots of different things that go on at different schools, but we think that more work goes around, the 9-week grading period and the semester grading period than the interim period, Mrs. Lieber.
that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you for the questions.
May I ask one more question? May I ask one more question? So if that is the case, then why are we insisting on 2 shortened weeks back to back as opposed to making, or actually 3?
Which weeks are you looking at, Ms. Jewett?
In September.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Your original calendar had 3 weeks back to back shortened, and that doesn't account for potential weather days.
Is that the 2025, 26 or 26, 27, Ms. Jewett?
25, 26.
Okay. So
why would we put more emphasis on making sure that there's a planning time on the 12th than the 29th?
So I think in this iteration, we would make the 12th because it's an interim period.
Mhm.
I think what Ms. Denny was saying is that we would transition the 12th from an early release to a full day. So you'd have Labor Day holiday on the 1st, a full day on the 12th, and the week of the 15th is when those interim reports go out. So
I think that would be great.
Yeah, yes.
But no, that's actually not what Ms. Denny was actually asking. She's asking for the 29th to be removed.
August 29th.
Okay, I have to go back myself and look. Sorry.
Welcome to my world for the past
Okay,
3
sorry. Let me come down here and look. All right.
But then we really were okay with not giving them planning period in May.
So, Mrs. Jewett, if I may, the May report card does have a teacher work day on the 29th. So each of the report cards in the 25, 26 revised calendar does have a work day near each final report card for each 9 weeks.
Which
So-
also defends my point from the last calendar as well. That having
1, 2.
it moved would not affect the teachers significantly, and it potentially could significantly affect the parents.
The 12th is an early release day, or it's a
So it's an early release day for teacher PD and planning because, the original thinking was progress reports are that next week.
But with
And it's the middle of the very first quarter where so much is typically, as you know, going on, Dr. Temple. So that's,
it's a time of year where we need more consistency. We need more kids in classrooms for more consistent amounts of time.
so I think that's what the suggestion then, Mrs. Lieber, would be to make the 29th, which is just the second full week of kids, a full week. So it would go from making that, maybe a half day originally to a full day. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So then you'd have 2 full weeks, a week with Labor Day, and then, come back to school the next week with a day of PD versus having both the 29th and the 12th out for for early release. I understand, I'm a parent too, so I know, we know where you're going.
Well, it's
with
also,
wild
it's also a teacher thing. Teachers, when they have to condense their schedule, even if it is a early release or whatever you want to call it, they still have to condense their schedule to a 4-day schedule. They basically mark that day as not very constructive. So now you're asking the teachers to have a 4-day week on the first week of September and a 4-day week on the second week of September, and then skip 2 more weeks, 3 more, and then the third week, another interrupted.
But what this allows, Ms. Jewett, and I really appreciate your passion around this. I know you care and you're trying to advocate for people in your district and teachers, but it is important, we believe, to offer teachers an opportunity to connect and plan in the first month to month and a half of school. And if we reduce the 29th and make it a full day, the only time teachers would have to do that between the start of school and really October, I think the 10th, it would be that September 12th on that 2-hour early release.
I'm saying leave the early release on the 29th and take away the 12th.
We wouldn't recommend that, Mrs. Jewett, because children have just been in school like two and a half weeks at that point. So it's almost like time you get started really well. And again, I know it's what we recommended originally, but
right, but they're going to get started and then they're going to have a break and then they're going to have another break and then they're going to have 2 more weeks and then another break. It's just as disruptive, if not more, because this one is actually more impactful because you're closer to the end of the semester. If you look at the semester, it ends on the 13th. And so they only have 2 full weeks of school before the 13th.
Right, but the 12th is right before progress reports are distributed to the next week, and then kids have the opportunity to be in school longer.
But wouldn't it be better to have them in school for 3 full weeks instead of 2 full weeks right before a report card comes out?
I see where you're going, but still find the value in the 12th versus the 29th, simply because of the timing of it. And again, it's just our recommendation. The board, if you want to leave the calendar as is and/or make the revisions, it's certainly up to you. But we think that the changes are more thoughtful to change the 29th to a full day than it would be to the 12th, given the timing of progress reports the next week. Then the 10th is the end of the quarter and a half day in October, Mrs. Jewett, as you've noted. Again, we don't take this personally. In fact, we appreciate your advocacy, and we're certainly open to board members providing us feedback.
We need to be aware that this is our highest, when we live in Minnesota, you do think, oh, in January, we probably shouldn't add in extra weeks of less construction.
Yes, ma'am.
In January, we might have a snowstorm.
It's going to be cold. Yeah.
Yeah. Here, that's not our concern. Our concern is hurricanes, and hurricanes hit us in September and October. So what we are doing is intentionally creating a week per semester where kids are not in instructional time for long periods of time at all, for half of the semester. And it would have been even more if we didn't take one away. And it was the same concern in the future calendar.
It would have been, and I hear you, but on the event that, like Ms. McKinney said, we don't have any hurricane days, which
we just bought this tiny A-frame cabin in Lake Tahoe, and the only thing we could afford was one with this teeny tiny dining space. We had to get super creative when getting furniture and
well, and I might interject, we had snow days and ice days. So we have to operate around instruction. We just can't control the weather.
if we don't plan for something in that month, if we don't plan for something in that month, and then, and even when you're out, we do want to give teachers some opportunity to plan in the first month of their time with students, or the first month and a half, as you onboard kids.
And especially, for example, with the new math curriculum, they're going to need that time to collaborate and evaluate.
And they still get it on the 29th.
We just would suggest that's too close to the start, but we yield to you.
Okay, so we'll call for the question. The amendment, Ms. Bowles, if you can bring that up. And Ms. Jewett, if you will check that it reads the way your amendment was stated.
7 to 5. I thought we were getting to 4. I thought we were going for a calendar that's going to have.
Well, I said that I think they should leave the May 5th in the current calendar or the May 1st date, because May 1st is the only day between spring break and the last day of school that basically they have to plan.
So Ms. Jewett, does the motion for the amendment read the way you stated it? All right, cast your votes.
No. I won't, that is not okay. You guys, I hope you guys get the wrath of your constituents. This was an approved calendar.
I haven't had any contact.
This.
I guess I'm confused. I thought we were.
You're taking away parent.
We were trying to get a calendar that has only 4 from.
They don't know.
Have all the votes been cast, Ms. Bowles?
Yes, ma'am.
Dr.
Recommendation
Temple,
is to-
I'm sorry, I just don't understand this.
The amendment,
Yeah, I thought we were trying to get to a calendar for 25-26 that has a reduced number of early release days, and I thought we were trying to get it, so we just had 4.
Yes, ma'am. In the second motion you'll vote on, it'll get it to 4. I think this one gets it to 5. Doesn't that right, Mrs. Jewett?
Yeah.
This one gets it down to 5.
Yeah, because this is an approved,
Approved.
published calendar, and
Correct.
I'm scared that our constituents might actually
Understand.
get upset, and our teachers might actually get upset if they get all of their work days taken away. Because our teachers are requesting to have their work days, which we've stated multiple times throughout this. May 1st. May 1st is the only day between April 10th and May 25th.
Madam Chairman, while voting is taking place, we're not supposed to be having discussions.
There's just a lot of it going on.
So we will call for the vote on the original motion.